Hey guys, highly recommended again. And I want to talk to you guys today about other credit considerations. Now, of course, we all know that good credit history and high credit scores will get you just about anything you apply for, assuming that you meet the income part of the application process. We know that the better your credit score, the better interest rate you'll get on any loans that you take out. We know that better credit scores and better credit files will get you better decisions when it comes to mortgages. It'll get you better decisions when it comes to automobile loans, and it'll get you a better rate in term with revolving credit like credit cards and lines of credit. But many of you may not know that your credit score has an impact on other things besides the lending and borrowing. Credit scores have an impact on your insurance rates. Credit scores can have an impact on the insurance policies, premiums, things of that nature, utilities. All of that stuff is considered with your credit. But I'm going to tell you a story about a client of mine who had an even bigger consideration when it came to his credit. Now, my client, I'm going to say for the sake of this conversation, his name is Leo because that's my big brother's name. So I'm going to use his name. It's not him though, even though he was in the military. It's not him. So my client Leo, he is in the reserves. He's in the military reserves, and he has a rank of officer. So he's not full-time military, but if you guys know how the reserves work. Being an officer, he has enjoyed a particular security clearance that's required for him to have as an officer. Well, my client Leo came to me a year ago for credit repair. So I worked with him with credit repair. He was trying to get a mortgage, helped him with that successfully, no problem. And he was good. He got his mortgage. Everything was hunky dory, as we used to say. However, back in the spring of this year, he came back to me and he says, "Hey, Hailey, I got a problem here. The military wants to revoke my security clearance because they say I have some massive issues on my credit." Now, I know the items that he had that I helped him with weren't considered massive. They were numerous, a handful, but certainly there was nothing I was aware of previously that would be worthy of an issue with the military. So I said, no problem. Okay, let's do it. So he does like most of my clients do. He reactivated his credit monitoring with one of the companies that I partner with, Smart Credit. Um, and so I looked at his credit and everything looked good. However, he provided me with documentation when he provided me the letter that apprised him of, that his security clearance was in jeopardy. The documentation made reference to some credit accounts that weren't on his credit report that I'm seeing. So it named the documents and it advised him that he could request those documents so we could see exactly what they were saying, which was the point of the issue. So I told him, yeah, go ahead and request those documents. Took a few weeks, but he provided me with a copy of the credit report and the other documents that made reference to these items that they were concerned with. Now, as I looked through these things, there were a handful of accounts. So I talked with Leo and I said, "Hey, do you remember any of these?" He said, "This one I may have had, but that was resolved a long time ago. The rest of these things, I have no recollection about them at all." So I said, "Okay, no problem." So I set about challenging those items as I normally do with fraudulent and erroneous items on client's credit report. So I requested validation and verification, which is a standard process you want to do when you're trying to clean up your credit. So that's a step I always recommend to you guys. If anybody out there that's looking to clean up their credit, you definitely want to validate and verify any of the debts collections and otherwise that they say you owe, especially with third party collections. You always want to validate and validate that those are your debts and that they have the right to at least collect on, which we know legally we'll be able to dispute that we may be able to dispute that later. And you want to verify that they got the right person. And so I even went so far as to request, have him request his 3 credit bureaus from annualcreditreport.com. Now that's the government mandated um, report that we all can get as consumers. We can get 1 copy a year coming directly from TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax through the online portal. It's free of charge. So anybody, and this one gives you a deep dive. They give you your entire credit history going back to the beginning of your very first credit card or account that you did. And so when I requested that, um, 1 or 2 of the items that they referenced were there, but they weren't his. So upon requesting validation and verification on that, and I challenged all of that, it was determined through a little bit of wrangling and some back and forth, but with some research, I determined that those items that they were concerned about were in fact not my client Leo's accounts at all. Well, all but one. There was one that was his, but it had been settled a long time ago, and we had provided evidence of that. And so we submitted that, and we waited and we waited and we waited and we waited. And of course, the government moves at their own speed. So it took about 3.5, almost 4 months. They did a review. It was a determination, and then so we successfully proved that the items that they were concerned about were in fact not my client Leo's, and got a letter, and there was a hearing, and he was apprised that his security status, his security clearance was intact and it remained. And so he didn't have, it was no longer in jeopardy. And that not only that, that the items that they referenced did not show up on his master report. And we made sure that those got purged. And the one that he did was updated correctly because it was something that he had taken care of previously, even before he had hired me the first time. So I felt pretty good about that I successfully saved an officer's security clearance from the federal government, from the military, more specifically, not the federal government, but the military. So that was a first for me. I had never had a client that had a situation like that. But of course, it brings back to my point that credit is important. It's important in many, many, many aspects of our lives, not just our ability to borrow and our ability to spend. I believe that the importance of credit is more than just having the ability to rack up debt. Credit can be used. It's a big leverager. So I tell people all the time, even if you make a good living, you have a good salary, and you wanted to buy a house, it's a lot faster. Even if you had the income to do it, for most people, even with a good basic income, I can say basic income, but a very good income, it's still easier and faster to borrow $200,000 to buy a house than it is to save up $200,000 um, to buy a house. So even if you could save the money, just like a car, there's a lot of us out there that could pay $25,000 cash for a car. But number one, if I could save up the money, if I can borrow, if I have the credit and I can go tomorrow and borrow the money to buy the car rather than spend the next 6 months or a year, maybe 2 years saving up the money. In the meanwhile, while I'm saving we all know that, especially nowadays, that the price of everything continues to rise. So if you're trying to save to make a major purchase on something important, the price increases will probably outrun your ability to save the money. So of course, That's where credit is benefit because we can do it now. The other aspect of it is also when you think about the mindset. When it comes to money, there's three different thoughts on money. It's widely said, and I tend to agree with it when it comes to money. And I'm paralleling credit with this. That's why I'm mentioning it because the philosophy is that poor people think the purpose of money is to pay bills. So they spend, they earn a living, they make a living, they earn money, they pay bills, and they go, "Woo! I paid all my bills. Now I can spend the rest of my money any way I want to, and then get to do it all over again next month." So you won't accumulate any wealth that way. Middle class people tend to believe that the purpose of money is to pay all your bills and maintain good credit, but only for the purpose of being able to buy any and everything they want so they can look like they have some money. So they're paying their bills, they're maintaining good credit, which is important, but they're doing it only so they can buy stuff and feel like they're wealthy. Whereas the true wealthy people understand that the purpose of money is to have it long enough for it to get pregnant and have babies and make more money. And so then by using credit to leverage your income, you can transition from being middle class to wealthy because if you understand that, what you would begin to do is take your money and invest it in different things, the stock market, a business, um, things like that, so that the money that you have makes more money than the cost of you borrowing money through credit. So if you have your cash invested into income producing assets that'll make you more money, and then on the other side you have really good credit so that any borrowing you do will be at the lowest rates available and the best terms available, your money can grow faster at a faster rate and a higher rate than it would cost you to pay down this loan and borrow that money. That's what the wealthy do. Wealthy people borrow money even when they don't need to because they know they can put their money to work. So us as average Joes, if we put our money to work and save and invest, and at the same time we correctly use credit and leverage it so that we can get the best rate and terms, we can start to shift away from being middle class to being wealthy because our money will grow faster than we spend it, and we borrow money so that we don't have to take our money away from growing, and we'll grow this money at a higher interest rate than the interest rate we pay to borrow, especially when we got good credit. And so we're leveraging our money and then we're going this way instead of going this way, because people who spend all their money and then spend with credit also have nothing to invest. And so their lifestyle, their wealth generation is almost nothing if it, that way. So just keep that in mind when, because a lot of people think that, oh, well, credit is only good for spending money and buying stuff. Well, no, credit has an impact on other things like Leo had it, because potentially if he lost his security clearance, they would have drummed him out of the reserve. I'm not an expert because I wasn't in the military, but I think he would have maybe lost his ability to serve, or if nothing else, he would have got demoted because without the security clearance, he couldn't hold the office, the position that he had. So that would have had an impact on his income as well, because without that, he would have lost that income. He would have been demoted, I think. Um, and so the importance of credit is more than just your ability to spend. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about fixing your credit and wondering whether it's worth it to do it. Is it worth the time and the effort and the money to fix your credit? But I rest assure you that when you fix your credit, the cost in time, money, and effort to fix your credit is well rewarded, and it comes back to you when you enjoy those things. So hopefully that's food for thought. Hopefully you'll find that helpful. I would ask that if you did, please share this with others. Please like and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. My subscribership is free, just so that you can get more of this information and share it with others. And then I would hope that you would also put comments below. Tell me if if I can make it better. If tell me if there's a subject you want to talk about. I can definitely create a video for that. So God bless, guys, and take care.